The International Court of Justice has opened a Pandora's box, and the only way Australia can put a lid back on it is if we withdraw from the UN completely. Lawsuits are coming, expensive ones, that will cost us billions in reparations for our climate crimes. Mark my words, Australia is going to be sued as a climate criminal. And the Orwellian-sounding International Court of Justice has made it very clear that they will not be friendly to our defence. Overnight last night, the purported highest court on the planet had this to say about climate change.
That the consequences of climate change are severe and far-reaching. They affect both natural ecosystems and human populations. These consequences underscore the urgent and existential threat posed by climate change. The court considers that the material scope of its inquiry encompasses the full range of human activities that contribute to climate change as a result of the emission of GHGs, including both consumption and production activities.
This is not just a court opinion. This is the foundation of a power grab that is unprecedented in its scale compared to any other moment in history. And already the opportunists and carpetbaggers are lining up to capitalise at our expense. My name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around you. And boy did the world change last night. Now all is not lost. This isn't a moment for despair. But at the same time, we need to take a clear-eyed look at what just happened and how we here in Australia must respond. Here at the Topher Project, I am 100% viewer-supported, and researching and creating reports like this one is what I do full-time. So please help me to stay caffeinated by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net, and check out my books, DVDs, t-shirts, hoodies, and more at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. Now, keep in mind that even before this opinion from the World Court, there were already thousands of climate change-related court cases going on. According to the database maintained by the Columbia Law School, there's well over 1,000 court cases outside the US, with thousands more inside of the USA. And this opinion from the UN's highest court is quite literally an invitation for thousands more lawsuits. And mark my words, Australia is going to be targeted because although we emit relatively little CO2 domestically, that's us down the bottom there, compared to the global output up the top, we are going to be targeted because of our exports. Australia exports about 4 times more coal and gas than we use domestically. Almost all of it goes to Asia somewhere, particularly India, Japan, South Korea, and China. So the enterprising lawyers and the opportunistic environmentalists are going to have to make a decision. Are they going to sue the importers who burned those fuels or the exporters who supplied it? And given a choice between suing China or even India versus suing Australia, I think it's pretty obvious who the easier target is going to be. But so what, right? Who cares what the UN and the International Court of Justice decide? We're a sovereign nation, right? Not so fast. Regular viewers will remember this video from a week or so ago where I warned about the amendments to the international health regulations. And I made the point in that video that these regulations and these agreements, well, they're not so much about the direct power that they give the UN to tell us what to do. It's more about providing cover for our own domestic politicians so they can do what they always wanted to do all along. See, our own weak-willed, self-loathing politicians actually agree with the UN on this. They believe that Australia deserves to be punished, so they're not going to fight back. They are not going to stand up for Australia. What they're going to do as this train wreck unfolds, as we are up for billions of dollars in supposed reparations, is hold grave-faced press conferences where they will speak of our obligations under international law and how we are bound to obey the decisions and opinions of the International Court of Justice. But actually, that's mostly a lie. I mean, technically we are bound, but only because we agreed to be bound, and we can change that when we choose to. We can withdraw from our treaties, from the various climate accords, and indeed we can withdraw from the UN itself anytime we feel like it. The USA have already proved this with their withdrawal first from the World Health Organization and just a few days ago with their announcement of a withdrawal from the UNESCO World Heritage Body. And you'd better believe that President Trump will be willing to withdraw from the UN entirely if they were to try and stop his America First drill baby drill energy policy. But here in Australia, the truth is that Anthony Albanese doesn't want to withdraw from the UN because, truth be told, he likes it this way. And to be fair, the Labor Party aren't alone in this. So do the majority of the Liberal Party as well. Let's not forget that over the last 20 years, we've had 7 different prime ministers from both major parties, and any one of them could have stood up to the UN in the best interests of Australians at any time. But they didn't. The reason why the UN International Court of Justice has any effect on us at all is precisely because those prime ministers signed up to it and we haven't withdrawn from it yet. This is unacceptable from our prime ministers from both major parties. But up until now, it kind of hasn't cost us, at least not directly. But that changed yesterday. And now the loyalties of our Prime Minister is going to be put to a test in a whole new way. See, Australia is already deep in debt, and with nothing to show for all of our spending, by the way. We're already completely dependent on the export of coal and gas for our economic survival, and the cost of living per capita recession is hurting a lot of Australians, and some of us pretty badly. The court cases that will flow from this opinion will take a few years to play out. But now, we're in a race against time. We already know that Anthony Albanese is not going to do the right thing and withdraw Australia from the UN. Because he, like Malcolm Turnbull and Kevin Rudd and all the others before him, views being the Prime Minister of Australia as just a stepping stone. It's a way of catapulting his career up into that very globalist cartel. He is very willing to throw Australia under the bus as long as it carries favour among the people that he sees his future career as being dependent on. The same was true of Kevin Rudd, in my opinion. He made no secret of his ambitions to one day be the Secretary-General of the UN, a laughable ambition from a man who was deceived by his own ego. But I can't help but think that his continued position as ambassador to the US, in defiance of the very clearly expressed opinion and will of the American government, is one of the many ways that Anthony Albanese is showing his loyalty to the globalists rather than to the best interests of Australians. So the race against time is not to get Anthony Albanese to do anything. We already know he won't. He likes it this way. Rather, the race is to reach our fellow Australians with the good news. We don't have to be subject to the UN or this kangaroo court of justice. We don't have to endure the humiliation ritual of being treated as criminals for the crime of increasing the global supply of plant food, which has in turn contributed to the planet getting greener since the 1980s. In case you're not aware, the planet is greening, and it's greening pretty fast. In just the last few decades, an area the size of North America has turned green as viewed from our satellites. Places that used to be arid or even have sparse vegetation or indeed used to be deserts are now turning green because increased atmospheric CO2 has made it easier for plants to survive and even to thrive with less water. So now, plants are regrowing in marginal environments where they used to be in retreat. We helped to do that. We gave that gift to the world through our own CO2 emissions and our exports, and now the International Court of Justice has opened the door for the world to punish us for it. But we don't have to let them. We need to withdraw from the UN entirely. Every treaty, every agreement, every commission, all of it. The UN stopped being fit for purpose decades ago, and now it's becoming an outright criminal cartel of its own. And in no way is our continued membership of the UN in the best interests of Australia. So our task, whether we like it or not, is to spread the word and make such a fuss about this that the next federal election in Australia becomes a referendum on our membership of the UN. The brutal truth is that we get the government that we deserve. So if we've had a string of prime ministers and parliaments over the last 20 years who have consistently sold us out to the globalists for their own ideologies and career ambitions, well, that's because that's what we deserve. And if we want to get a better government, we need to become a better people. And we need to start that by having the drive, the desire, the will to stand on our own 2 feet as a sovereign nation, not cut off from the rest of the world. I'm all for trade and tourism and indeed immigration, all of it. But we should not be beholden to any global cartels that want to treat us like criminals for the crime of becoming prosperous, for the crime of helping the world to avoid the CO2 drought that we very nearly suffered back when atmospheric CO2 was dangerously low, below 300 parts per million. See, 200 parts per million carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is the point at which many plants simply can't survive. They can't grow. And pretty much all plants thrive as CO2 levels get higher. In fact, many farmers who use greenhouses will deliberately release CO2 into their greenhouses to get them up to 800 parts per million or even higher, dramatically increasing yields and reducing water consumption for a given amount of plant growth. But weirdly, I haven't heard anyone say thank you to Australia for how we have contributed, how we have supplied coal and gas to the rest of the world so that they can contribute to restoring the biodiversity and the biomass and contribute to the greening of this beautiful planet that we call home. And now that there's money to be made by suing us in the World Court, don't expect a thank you anytime soon. We know where this is going. We know what's going to happen next. And the only way out is out. Out of the UN, out of the climate agreements, out of the globalist bodies who hate us. They hate our prosperity. They hate our way of life. This right now is the best opportunity we are likely to get, because these people will come after us for billions upon billions of dollars that we cannot afford right at a time when ordinary Australians are already hurting. I've said for the last 16 years of being a political commentator that Australians don't pay attention to politics until it hurts us. And this is going to hurt a lot, right at a time when people are already hurting, which makes this the perfect opportunity for us to get our fellow Australians to sit up and pay attention for a change. What happens next is up to us, and you can help by spreading this video far and wide so that together we can help more people to understand what is happening and to understand what we need to do about it. We need to turn the next federal election into a referendum on Australia's membership of the UN. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around you. And I hope that in some small way I can help Australia to navigate the challenges that we face. You can help me to keep the Topher Project going by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net, and also by buying my books, DVDs, t-shirts and merch from goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. The algorithm loves you, and so do I. Please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, think free.